Big news. Canelo Alvarez's team payday. You want payday. I know that. They say that the best fight for Canelo Alvarez is none other than, hey, Houston's own H-Town. Keep running your mouth. Keep running your Jermall Charlo. Oh, we're going to talk about it. I was born ready. Stay tuned. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to my channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. We got some good news, man. Canelo Alvarez, it looks like he's come to his senses. There was a point in time where Canelo Alvarez was stating that his team, at least, and he said he was going to do what Eddie Reynoso told him to do, and they were stating that Canelo's next fight could be against Makbuk Air. Now, more recent reports have stated that that could not be the case. And you see articles like this on ESPN. How does Canelo Alvarez match up with Jermall Charlo, Dimitri Bivol, and Gennady guys, Max? It says Canelo Alvarez is planning his return for May Cinco de Mayo week. And reportedly, he has three options. First, there's a one-fight deal on the table from Premier Boxing Champions to defend his undisputed super middleweight championship against middleweight Jermall Charlo, who would move up in weight for the challenge. Now, you guys seen the clip at the beginning, and Jermall Charlo, he's been doing a lot of training. Does this mean he's getting Canelo Alvarez? I don't know. It could, though, because he's already looking like he's in shape. And he's already looking like he's training. So he might know something that we don't know. Even if it is not confirmed behind the scenes that Jermall Charlo will get the fight, I love this attitude from, H-Town, keep running your mouth, Jermall Charlo. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Just in case, just the fact that this is what boxers should do. Just the fact that you're in the sweepstakes, you got to be ready. Because Jermall Charlo has claimed he wanted the Canelo fight, and I believe him, for several years. He's called for this fight. So if your number gets chosen by a guy like Canelo Alvarez, you got to take that call and be ready. As long as, of course, everything's on even, as much, not even in terms of ASI money and stuff like that, but as long as it's a fair offer for you, you know what I mean? And it looks like if Jermall Charlo is chosen, he's making good on that. So that's all I can ask of a boxer, to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And just the fact that you're in the conversation, that should be motivation. Listen, I'm going to say that's a gym. That's a bar. I said just the fact that that you're in the conversation, that should be enough motivation. So I like it, man. I think Jermall Charlo is a hell of a fighter. I typically don't really prefer people moving up in weight unless you've cleared out the division. But again, as I just mentioned, when you're dealing with Canelo Alvarez, you may not get the call. You may get it. He works and does what he wants. And at the end of the day, if you want that opportunity, at this point, you kind of have to play by his rules. That's how the game's been going. So it is what it is. So my opinion doesn't matter in that regard. Nonetheless, Canelo is undisputed at 168. I do like the fight a lot more than Makbuk Air, because no one even knows who that is. It's not a big fight. It's an unheralded name. Canelo's going to say, oh, we're doing it to set history and all this mumbo jumbo. But at the end of the day, people aren't really checking for that. Meanwhile, Charlo is a fight that people have wanted to see since the 154/Canelo weight days of 155. So Charlo has a charismatic personality. He's a hell of a fighter. He was in a tough fight with a durable guy. And it was also a guy out of Mexico. So why not go back-to-back? A black fighter versus another Mexican fighter. Because Charlo's last fight, he had a hand injury. And it was an action fight. Canelo's style. Jermall Charlo's style. So that would prove to be an action fight as well, from what I can see. If you had to bet money that it's going to be a good fight, then you would say that. Charlo also has a very good jab. He looks, to me, even though he would be the guy moving up in weight, he looks bigger than Canelo. I've stood next to both guys. So he is bigger. It doesn't look, he is bigger. He would have to pack on the weight and, acclimate and learn all that on the job. But ultimately, I like it. Now, This is Eddie Reynoso. 3 hours ago, this was uploaded on Fight Hub TV. It says, Eddie Reynoso says Charlo is the best fight for Canelo. Does give Benavidez props for being a great something rather, right? So I don't know when this was conducted, but Eddie Reynoso says he likes the Charlo fight. And again, when dealing with Canelo's team, this is big news because people have wanted to see this very fight for years and it didn't manifest. So much to the point where Canelo Alvarez, they created a title, the franchise champion, as opposed to having made the fight back at 160. But whatever, Canelo, he got a taste of that money with PBC and it was a career high payday. Maybe he's in the zone right now and he's like undisputed. Maybe he feels like, you know, nobody can touch him. And now he's feeling froggish and ready to take that fight. I still, in my honest opinion, if I'm being honest with you guys, which is what I do on my channel, this is why y'all come back, I would have preferred this fight at 54 or 160 when they were both there. I'm not saying Canelo now needs to move back down and weight because he's the A side and you know he wouldn't do that anyway. But there was a point in time where literally they could have just fought at the weight class and then it would have been completely like almost as even a playing field as you could, because Canelo was acclimating to the division and so was Charlo, you know. But it is what it is. This is how boxing plays out. These are the strategies employed by Canelo and his team. Still a great fight. I also think this is a highly, highly lucrative fight. I think this is a moneymaker. Canelo wants the quote-unquote Mexican dates. And, you know, people say whatever they want. Race don't matter in boxing, yada, yada, yada. But we all know race sells. You have the biggest Mexican star and African-American star in Charlo, who has amassed a fan base. Neither guy holds back. And if you look at Canelo's last fight with the PBC fighter, it did the best numbers Canelo has done since the HBO days. So it goes without saying that pay-per-view is not dead. I know Canelo was on DAZN for a period of time, but I mean, the DAZN, they don't release their numbers, so there's no way that I can prove to you. But in my heart and in my mind, I know that this was the Canelo-Caleb Plant was the biggest and most lucrative fight that made the most sense. DAZN, they're overpaying Canelo for the product, because fights like Dimitri Bivol, let's say you give Canelo what you've been getting him, $36 million, right? PBC gave him 40 million, plus he got back end money and you know, sponsorships and all this other stuff, because it was a pay-per-view and it did almost 1 million buys. So that's just the type of money you can't duplicate. So what is DAZN going to give him? $75 million flat fee to fight Dimitri Bivol, which not even a big fight. That, you know, that doesn't even make sense. The fact that, listen, and I'm going to make a separate video about this so I could go in and more talk about that. But the fact that DAZN is even trying to compete with Canelo is laughable. It's like somebody getting a luxury car, and the first couple months it's okay paying the car note, but you know you don't make enough money to really sustain that car note. So as those months go on and you've had the car for a year now, it becomes harder and harder to make that monthly payment. And that's kind of what it is with the non-pay-per-view infrastructure, to the point where DAZN, they would have to come up with a pay-per-view infrastructure, despite them telling us that pay-per-view was dead and all that. But even still, even if you put Canelo, okay, he's a star, but Dimitri Bivol is not a big name. Yes, he's a good fighter. Yes, he's a crafty fighter, but that doesn't equate to pay-per-view dollars and butts and seats and pay-per-view sales. So clearly fights like David Benavidez and Jermall Charlo, there's a bigger future because they already have their own independent fan bases, right? David Benavidez is Spanish speaking, and so is Canelo, and they both speak English. And then Jermall Charlo speaks English, has his own fan base. He's a black fighter, right? So these equations tend to balance out and make more sense because you have two guys who are branded. Like, okay, Canelo, he could be the superstar in the equation, but in this climate, in this current market with boxing, it seems like it would be more beneficial if you're paying somebody as much as Canelo is earning with a star like Dimitri Bivol. I don't even know if he speaks English. I never even really heard him talk. He's not a big name. So despite that could be a tricky fight for Canelo or anybody else at light heavyweight, you got to make it make sense. You know, it's just like, that's like saying Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia. There might even be fights that are tougher for Tank, like Subriel Matias. He's a tough fight for anybody at 140, right? So that could be a tougher fight for Ryan Garcia or a tougher fight for Gervonta Davis. But we all know Ryan Garcia versus Gervonta Davis is not only a great fight, but it would generate, because you have two dance partners that have somewhat of a following, right? So that's the name of the game. You know, when people start getting into the upper echelon like Canelo, people want to see big events as well. They want to see big events. MacBook Air. I mean, I don't even have to spend too much time talking about that. Trash. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Hopefully Canelo and Charlo fight. I will keep you guys updated, but this is big news. Just the fact that it's leaning in this direction, and Eddie Reynoso is saying that, you know, this is an option in Jermall Charlo, and you see Jermall Charlo is out there grinding and in the gym. So it could be something that's moving towards actually happening, and that would be great for 2022. Let me know how I did in this video. I'm the best in the business. That's all you really need to know. So subscribe. And I'm out. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.